What's up, peeps? Making sure we're live. Okay, over there. Conditions good. Looks good. How's everybody doing? Welcome. My name is Kelby Smith. I am the executive director for HISadvocates. HISadvocates is probably the only organization on the face of the earth that helps people out with status and jurisdiction, only done in a form that is not done in trickery, like many of the quote-unquote people out there, gurus out there that are operating elements of partial truths. I don't know whether it's intentional, but some of them probably are agents, and helping people steer straight back into the jurisdiction of the United States. Back in 2008, I lost everything. I am a real estate licensed mortgage broker in the state of California, and it's not easy to get that. It's not easy to have that opportunity to represent people both on the level of loans and real estate transactions. I'm really familiar with the elements of how loans work, and the first time I was brought into a thought of we are being defrauded as a nation was in 2008 or 7. I saw Henry Paulson on his knees in front of Nancy Pelosi, and I watched a dialogue take place begging for this nation to get an $800 billion bailout when all the money went to the banks. And I was looking at the crisis happening in our nation with foreclosures coming at a rampage level that nobody's really had ever seen. And I thought to myself, it could have been just a small portion of that would have gone to the banks. And meaning you could have given it to the consumers, save their house, low interest rate notes, not just giving it to them, low interest rate loan, and the money would have gotten to the banks anyway. And instead, because we are in a bankruptcy of the United States, HJR 192, this is what I just quoted you was law. It's public law, came back way in 1933. This country called the United States Corporation went into bankruptcy, was insolvent. And what you're watching right now is the facade of trying to maintain rule, trying to maintain leadership, the struggle of right and wrong, the struggle of left to right, the struggle of conservative to liberalism, and the struggle of life. And what we're actually not paying attention to is the smoke and mirrors that are being fogged over by this modern day struggle by the news media and frankly by the school systems and by many people that don't look beyond what's right in front of them. And so they tell us everything. There's a map to everything. There's the story is laid out, whether it's in the movie theaters or in documentaries or in a series. They tell us everything. As a matter of fact, in 2007, I believe it was, there was a television show that came out, and it described exactly the virus pandemic that was going to come out and how it was going to be working against the people and their DNA and all the above. So there's not anything that they're really not saying to the American people and forecasting. It's kind of like their way to make people feel like something's crazy on the horizon, but at the same time, like it's full disclosure. And if you have full disclosure in front of you, really, there is no guilt upon their table for pushing it forward and giving you that big fat dose of whatever they're trying to give you. So in 2008, to me, that was like a real big marker in my personal life. I lost everything. I had wealth, And I ended up in a 30-foot trailer, and I ended up staying in many different RV parks, KOAs, whatever. One of my best friend's front lawns, and it was quite a journey. Um, I started looking at the church differently. I started looking at people differently. I started looking at Christians differently. And I started taking a step back from traditional ways of thinking and traditional ways of viewing the world. Things became more clear at that time for me because after watching the fraud that was taking place and understanding that the fraud matches the bankruptcy, meaning, of course, instead of the people that we've elected to represent us, when was the last time you've seen them? I mean, literally, when was the last time you've seen the Congress of the United States represent you? Never. And it's on both sides. And they want you to believe that they're representing you by bringing forward items or initiative or bills or acts. And the reality is there's so much pork in these acts. The act really fails in comparison to the amount of money being delved out to the pork projects that are the special interests of the particular candidates or these whales that are putting in money. Moderna, Pfizer, all these guys out there that are putting in these huge multi-billion dollars of campaigns, and truly who are running the world. And that's not a real rough pill to swallow. We had a takeover attempt, a coup attempt of the United States way back in 1909. The bankers approached one of the generals, and there was literally a coup attempt. And way back in the day, he went to his Congress and he knocked him off, and none of the families went to prison. And he was later put into a casket. This has been going on for thousands of years, particularly with our country, for a very, very long time. And when you take a look at the scope of the way that the laws were structured throughout the history of the beginning of this nation to present day, I could take you on a wild ride, which is the nature of the show, to help you to understand the fraud that's happened all the way across the board from the very beginning of our nation to present day. And then what is the coming wild ride that we're to be expecting? It is crazy. It is unreal. It makes you feel like either Kelby is a kook, or maybe he's just a really good researcher and wants to find the truth. Now, I don't think for a second everything that comes out of everybody's mouth on the internet or some show or some podcast or whatever is the truth. You got to kind of examine. For example, Alex Jones. He's been a long time conspiracy theorist for 25 plus years, supposedly lost everything. It's getting foreclosed on, but he was all, in my opinion, based on the facts of what he was presenting, he would always tell about 20% of the truth, or excuse me, about 80% of the truth, maybe 90, and then 10% complete misleading, mischaracter, misinformation to his people, just enough to get you off course and not focus on the facts. And then he was constantly leading people into a state of frenzy, into a state of paranoia, into a state of war. And that's just my personal opinion. So I wonder why people like that were allowed to stay on the air as long as they were. And I'm looking at the modernization of the internet with the people coming out with the different podcasts and shows. And I do want to say that we were personally knocked off the internet, this particular social media channel. And we only had, I think, about close to 20,000. Today we're a little over 65,000 subscribers. And all I did was post an opinion, and it wasn't even a really sharp opinion. I can't even repeat it for fear of this channel taking me down. So it upset me, and I realized I had to develop a platform for the people that would be the truth, or at least give another opinion that would not be taken down. So HISadvocates TV embarked on your phones. One word, HISadvocates, second word, TV. It's on your app store. And it's going to take some time. We're not really big on pushing this, but it took us 5 years to get to the point where We actually have a network brand called HISadvocates TV. We're on Roku, Amazon, Android, Apple, Samsung, LG, and more. And we have done it in a form that's private. And we've done it in a form that requires a name and a phone number and an agreement to be able to watch anything that's public, which means you're entering into a private association and membership that would allow for anything to be said, and for the public element or the public side, we would never be taken down. We're the first ever in the history of this world to come up with a concept so simple as to make a private membership available on public TV. And it will be big, and it will be strong, and it will not go down. And if it does, I'm sure some whatever entity out there is going to pick up the reins for us and bring forward an action or what have you to stop it. Because listen, people don't realize the attorneys, their private membership, the bar is a private membership association, not public, not registered, private. Do anything you want. All the places that were left open, left alone, were the private clubs, the private membership clubs during COVID. They were not shut down because everybody had a private agreement to being able to go into that store and do whatever they wanted to do. So here we are in a new day, a new era of being able to share information. And it's one to which you have to tread carefully. The good news is when you enter into the relationship with HISadvocates, both personally and from a media content standpoint, it's all private. We help people become what our founders were. The founders were never United States citizens. And I'm going to say facts in law, and I'm going to point to some areas in law to where you can cut check me. And many of you have heard some of these things, but it's going to be one of those shows where it is a wild ride. And you're going to realize he's telling the truth, because all you have to do is validate and verify and look at the titles to which I'm going to claim and realize that we have this opportunity here in this nation. And we are holding at hisadvocates.org for your purview. Come and join for free, and we will supply you with 70 plus Supreme Court rulings, both state and federal, that talk about state citizenship and the difference of a state citizen and a U.S. citizen. Now, some people say that's not possible. It's not doable. You're a slave. You always will be. And I would say I beg to differ, son, because it's offer, acceptance, consideration, performance, and full disclosure. It's called a contract. And I can cancel a contract for fraud in the factum, meaning from the beginning, at any time I wish. I don't need to put up with a contract that doesn't do full disclosure. I don't need to put up with a contract that doesn't even have a countersigned agreement. That's called a trust. As a matter of fact, I can walk out of a trust document, trust being the surety, the collateral, the trustee at any time I wish. Now, everybody's tilting their head. Why is he talking about contracts and trusts? Well, let's go back in time. Back in the early 1800s, they formed the corporation known as the United States. Back in 1861, there was a shift, and it was basically war. And it was just getting started, and there was a trade of leadership in the presidential realm to Kennedy, to which there was a ton of laws that had shifted, and we all thought it was for the freedom of the black people of the United States. And the 14th Amendment arose, and it was not to free the black people, it was actually to enslave everyone. Now, I can get into all the specifics with you, but I want you to understand and read the first document called the Constitution for the United States of America. And I want you to see that the word citizen is in caps. And I want you to understand the placement of citizen as it's being discussed. And then go to the 14th Amendment and look at the word citizen as lowercase and understand the placement of where it is as a possession of the United States. And it's just beginning. And that's one of the confirmations outside of many Supreme Court rulings confirming what I just said, that a state citizenship is not a taxpayer. A state citizen is not a U.S. citizen. A state citizen has access to the Bill of Rights, while a U.S. citizen does not have access to the Bill of Rights. See, as a state citizen, it was a venture into a reality that we really never knew about, because we were all slaves under a king way back in the day. And then we started taking boats over, and there was many different elements of what happened. And to be frank with you, I don't think we even understand all of the truth about this nation, how long it's actually been around, who inhabited this nation, and things like that. And why do I say that? And I'm not saying this to be a buzzkill or to make people go, oh, he's a total conspiracy. There has been giants that have been found all over the Americas, all over the islands off of our coast, giants from 9 feet to 18 feet on our land. There has been caverns full of Egyptian hieroglyphics to the tune and size of 3 football fields found in Arizona's Grand Canyon, picked up, covered up, and sealed by who? NASA, of course. And there has been all over this nation pyramids, all over this nation burial sites, all over this nation things that you just would not believe. And it's my opinion that we need to take a step back, digest what I just said, and start to realize maybe Columbus wasn't the first to discover America. Maybe it was done for a right and a privilege of title. Maybe it was done for the history books, but it doesn't matter. What matters is the collective and what the people are thinking today. I don't worry about what one man's opinion or 1,000 men's opinions are about the ability to be repaid for something that happened hundreds of years ago. I'm not saying they don't deserve it, but when we had nothing to do with it, we shouldn't be in a position where we are being told we need to pay back reparations for something that happened hundreds of years ago. I don't find that fair. And I don't find the reverse racism that's fair. But you know what? What did I just do? I spent 30 seconds off the topic with the smoke and mirrors that's keeping us all divided. Instead of holding on arm in arm, black, white, brown, red, yellow, doesn't matter, and staying focused on the relevant facts that we're being played. We're on this wild ride together. And there's an underlining thing happening. I don't care if you're a Chicano gang member. I don't care if you're a FBI elitist. I don't care if you're a CIA or you're an informant or what have you. Your family is all going to be affected very soon. And I think the people or the entity that is behind this structure called the world order that you think is done, it's solidified, it's coming in fast, and it's a real deal. I think once you see things come into fruition, you're going to be held liable for things that you maybe didn't think about. I think you're going to have a guilt placed upon you that maybe you didn't really put 2 cents into because you just thought it was going to take place. I think this world is going to be divided, and I think we're going to have a lot of people battling for their very lives because they are not going to accept the narrative of what is being brought forward. And yeah, I don't care if there's a alien invasion. I don't care if there's earthquakes and famines and those things, biblically, to a point and degree that is scary beyond belief. It's been foretold. They're telling us these things. The Bible has already said what is going to take place. Now, take that with a grain of salt. I get it. You may not want to. because historically, prophetically, I've never seen anything wrong with the Bible. Okay? Now, knowing that, what is coming could quite scare the average man or woman to the point where the Word of God even says men's hearts will fail. That's interesting to me, because here we are on this wild ride together, and we're watching the smoke and mirrors, and we're trying to figure out what's the next move, what's the next play. See, back in the day, they created that corporation for the purposes of adopting the Constitution, most of it. And I'm not going to lay that out for people, but I have shown people on the congressional website on house.gov where they bracketed the first 10 amendments to the Bill of Rights. And so when you start to realize that, now I'm not directly under God. I have taken a position from 1933 to present day to where I want to be an employee of a company called the United States. I want to get an employment ID number called Social Security. I want to get a voter's card. It's called voting. It's a job. I want to become a taxpayer. It's another job. And I'm taking on all these jobs with all these public franchises, giving jurisdiction over the man to the corporation. See, a corporation cannot do business with a living man. So it's created all these job positions, and we're stepping in at a trust level of trustee because those documents that you applied for those positions, DMV, SSA, voters, all the majors, IRS, are never countersigned. They are all trusts. They're self-executing trusts, and you're putting yourself in for a benefit of being the trustee and holding a job with one of those entities, which makes you liable to the terms on the back of the contracts with the IRS, the DMV, the voters, and the like. So when people are trying to figure out, well, being a U.S. citizen is synonymous with being a citizen of the United States of America, I would say, no, it's not. The Supreme Court would differ with your opinion there. I would also say that the element of your thoughts are completely upside down if you're a Christian, because God flat out says in his Bible, do not be the surety or the collateral for anything or anyone. What does that mean? That means don't be the trustee on all these docs that hold you liable and make you a debtor. See, the United States Corp has been telling us how much you all owe with the raising of the taxes, the raising of the debt ceiling, the raising of the debt ceiling, the raising of the taxes, how much you owe as an individual U.S. citizen every single day of our life. It's over $1 million. But what people don't realize, they have this opportunity to come out and not be the trustee over the true debtor, the birth certificate. See, what happens, and this is very interesting, they took your live born record from your mom and they put it on a birth certificate. One of the definitions of birth is abandonment. Live born record clearly indicates, in my opinion, your mom is abandoning you as a child. And it is so sneaky and so wrong. You know, when you look at the definitions of the words on the live born record, where the mom signs, it says informant and parent and signature. So it's 3 different definitions. One who can attest to the validity of the instrument, signature. That's what that means. Informant, one who turns one over. And the third one is parent, a judicially decreed guardian. So as one who is attesting to the validity of this instrument, declaring myself as a judicially decreed guardian, hereby announcing turning the product of this live born record over to the state. Far-fetched? No. Because if it was wrong, then the actions of the state could not take place. Because the actions of the state were to take that, put it on 32-pound watermark banknote paper, put it into the public. That's what a county recorder is. And then monetize the BC. See, they took the gold, they took the land, and now they have secured the people, not just of America, of the entire world. They cloaked and did of who you were actually thinking government was. And it happened over time. United States of America became the United States. Orange County became County of Orange. Fullerton became the city of Fullerton. And every state, city, borough, municipality, country became a corporation in the years 1900 through 2024. It was done a long time ago. I'm just saying during that period of time. Over 180,000 corporations, all falling under the United States, all bankrupted within the United States, and all the assets are bled out and directly given to the creditors of the bankruptcy, the banks. Oh, it's sneaky. So when Henry Paulson is on his knees begging for something, he's begging for the banks to get a big fat check as the creditor and not for the people. And it's a valid, real, lawful technique. Of course, sleight of hand. Of course, not fair. Of course, these things are fraud from the beginning. Yes, but do they matter when it comes to you and them having subject matter jurisdiction over you? No. See, all you have to do is read a warrant or an indictment, and you will see exactly what the banks did to create jurisdiction over people and hold them under the United States. Now, the wild ride gets bigger. Every country and all their birth certificates are registered under the Securities and Exchange Commission under the United States. Every country. And every country through the IMF is why money leaves our nation and goes out of our nation to other countries. There's your answer. And it even is biblical as to the deals that the kings will make of the earth with the whore. It's biblical. And then you look at exactly what could be biblically representing what the whore is. And I could take you down that road. I really don't want to right now. But in my opinion, there is only one entity on the face of the earth that fits that description. And it's the United States. Let's just say the Bible's totally wrong. Jesus never existed. None of that. Evil exists. Okay? Evil is profoundly real. You have 500,000 children in this nation every year disappearing and going somewhere. Another 250,000 adults just in our nation. You have DUMBs, underground cities, and structures being built all over the world. They know something, and they're doing something with all the people they're making disappear. There are videos surfacing of all kinds of esoteric acts with little kids in lingerie that are performing functions on adults that are coming out of the woodwork. And one of them is the son of a sitting president. Now, when you start to look at some of these things and you start to realize evil does exist, well, for there to be evil, there must be a counter. There must be a complete opposite extreme. And there is. And it's a part of this wild ride that we're talking about. Because we are all waiting on something to happen. And you know what? I'm going to tell you guys, that's the con. You're waiting. Instead of inaction, instead of operating as Gideon soldiers, instead of doing something, you think a blonde God is going to come and save you. You think a guy that is a billionaire who's got his heart and soul and mind and everything into it, who is an excellent, productionist, and I'm not putting him down. He's excellent. But there are so many things that I disagree with his position on things. And do I think that he would be better than what is in there? 100%. Do I think he's on the path and being used by those people? 1,000%. Why do I say that? Because he's personally invested in Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson. And he doesn't stop talking about it. Now he's coming out with a voice saying there's been people that have been hurt. Okay. How did that help when it was your initiative pushing forward Operation Warp Speed? How did that help? When it was your constant discussion points in front of the world promoting that, I can't say it, you know what I mean, promoting it. So do we have an exit plan? Well, I do want to tell you guys, outside of state citizenship, there is an organization called Republic for the United States of America. Whether you want to believe it or not, the Republic has been re-inhabited. Whether you like it, consider it truthful or not, I would, if I were you, go to the Republic website, republicfortheunitedstatesofamerica.org, and I would join. I would also join HISadvocates.org right here. Okay? Because there's a problem with being in Republic and being a U.S. citizen. You're double-minded. There's a problem with you being the surety and the collateral, which means they can come and pick you up anytime they want. And there's a reward for coming out of her, if you believe in the Bible, says God. And so I look at this ride that has happened, and I look at the smoke and mirrors, and I realize, okay, I'm a broker. I've made a lot of money, done very good. I've fallen flat on my face several times. Coming into a marketplace in the next several years where loans are going to be beautiful, 2-3%. I just call people up, laying down in my hammock in the Cabo region, taking orders, putting people in, having my processors and my people close those loans, and being the reward recipient of a couple million a year for the last 15 years. Could have done that. Instead, I started diving into law. I'm not a lawyer. I started trying to figure out what our founders were. I started trying to do what the right thing was. And we in this ministry have figured out that you have to deal. You can't just file affidavits, put them in the public, and think, oh, hey, look, I'm free. I'm an American national now. That's not a truthful argument of being a state citizen. There's no Supreme Courts that, and I'm not trying to make fun of people, but that's what the agents have done. That's what the United States has done to trick people into thinking there is a jurisdiction out there that's synonymous with state citizenship. See, Homeland Security and the FBI, when they publish their reports about sovereign citizens, they fail to mention in their documents anything about state citizenship. Anything. It's just making fun of people. It's making suggestions of people. It's mocking people and their desire to be free. Last I checked, under the Declaration of Independence, we are free. So why does the federal government always make fun of people trying to be free? Why is this thing that we are not under federal rule? Why are they training federal agents that there is no freedom outside of the federal government, that they have absolute autonomous jurisdiction over every man and woman in the nation? You know what? It's just a lie. Every case, every warrant, every bank capture, every garnishment has to prove subject matter jurisdiction. If the federal and state corporations had just absolute guaranteed jurisdiction, these documents and the courts would not require proof of subject matter jurisdiction. just wouldn't. So if it requires proof, there are different jurisdictions that exist in law that they make fun of. The United States is a corporation. This guy thinks the United States is a corporation. Can you believe this, Frank? Title 28, subsection 3002. Yeah, I believe it, Frank. I believe it. I saw it in the code. The United States, man, it's with, the corporation. This guy says its exclusive jurisdiction is in the District of Columbia. It is. 9 UCC 307H and also U.S. Code. Guys, we failed. And unfortunately, our pastors, our government, our schools are complicit. Not every pastor, not every teacher, not every governmental worker, but the predominant portion, yes. When you go to public school, and you're trained that you need to get up at the buzzer, walk to your next class, sit down and be quiet. Get up at the buzzer, walk to the next class, sit down and be quiet. You're training to be a good employee, not a good entrepreneur, not a good leader. When your church tells you that a citizen, a good Christian, must pay their taxes, is imposing upon jurisdiction over the people using singular scriptures that have no reference to what he is saying. No, it is not synonymous, or it's not agreeable to what he is saying. As a matter of fact, when you take a look at who is receiving the tax, and you take a look at the $2 trillion annualized that goes missing and goes to black opt accounts, what I would suggest that the pastors are actually doing is making the individual liable for the actions of paying the largest gang in the world for misappropriating funds, for using it for death camps, for using it for everything in destructive and destruction of what they're doing around the world. That's what's happening. And you're making the party liable to that. Revelations 18:4, come out of her, my people. So pastors, to be a good Christian is to honor God and his word and his law. That's it. Romans 13. If you really wanted to get down to it, pastors, we need to respect one thing, that we on this land are the government. We as a state citizen are the government. The pastors should be teaching that, and not teaching people to become surety of a corporation known as the United States. And there is a fundamental difference in law that is so profound, so real, that if a pastor hears what I'm saying right now and ignores it, they will fall in condemnation under the law of God for not releasing their people to what could be construed as the biggest fraud on the face of the earth. And this is not the pastor's fault. They've been taught this by their pastor. They've been taught that by their pastor. They've been taught through the generations instead of looking deep into really what is going on. See, the government literally has operations where it's dealing with training pastors how to be pastors. What did he just say? That's correct. The government has operations where they are training pastors how to be pastors, how to be good, obedient federal citizens. I just want to encourage you guys. The smoke and mirrors, the blinders, the I solve, whatever it is you need to do for your own life, do it now. Don't do it in 60 days. Don't do it in 30 days. Get on the internet, get on the phone, download our app right here, go to your little app store, download HISadvocates TV, start watching the channels regarding living in the private, watch the questions and the answers, send a text, freedom, to 855-452-0499, 855-452-0499. get on our list, forward that text to other people so that they see that, and join us at hisadvocates.org. It is critical now that we start moving into the elements of state citizenship for protection in law, and that we start re-inhabiting the republic. Because right now, for the most part, the republic is a bunch of people standing up wanting to be free, but they don't know how. The leadership in the republic knows this. The leadership has done the same steps that I have asked for the republic to consider of being a state citizen. The leadership is moving towards the reality, because the people that were the leadership in republic back in the day under the founding fathers were not United States citizens. How do you have allegiance to a corporation where you're the debtor, the surety, and the collateral of that corporation? How can you be a slave and be free? It's not possible. You're one or the other. You can't claim something under republic unless you've handled the elements to what got you to become the surety. That's what we do at hisadvocates.org. We deal with helping you with a passport as a state citizen through the Department of State. We literally tell them we're not U.S. citizens, explain it in the law, and make our allegiance to the Declaration and to the state to which we were born on, making us a citizen of California, which is what the founders were. Virginianites, New Hampshireites, New Yorkers, whatever. They were state citizens. And that's really what the first Civil War was about. The sovereignty of the states were being trampled. But nobody wants to talk about it. They don't want to put it on a pamphlet about sovereign citizens. They want to leave that alone. As a matter of fact, they want to completely tell you that the republic is a fraud. The people that are trying to become the republic are a bunch of sovereign citizen crazies, are fraud. I would bet anybody $1,000 that I could do a random call with any agent of the federal government. As a matter of fact, I take agents of the federal government and flip them to state citizenship. That's how solid I am on what we do. This is a real opportunity for freedom. This isn't fake. This is a real exit where you come out and you're directly under God. Because if you don't, you're in for a wild ride. God bless you guys. Thank you for listening. My name is Kelby. This is hisadvocates.tv. I really want you to join us at the Republic for the United States of America.org, hisadvocates.org, and get your position in life going. Stop the fearful sit down. See, all the media is focused, even including BitChute and Rumble. They're all focused on getting you to wait for something to happen instead of doing. I would encourage you to be a doer, be a watchman, be a fighter, stand guard. Do not just sit and wait for the blonde guy to throw his hair over to the side, make a presentation. Fight, fight, fight. No, we have to fight, fight, fight. God bless you guys. Have a great day. I will see you next Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific. Get your friends and family to watch this and forward this if you can. And we will have it posted all over the place within 24 hours. Have a great day. Bye-bye.